I'll make you great when I'm already Elohim. Be the glory. Devil, get up under me. Get up under us.
His Bible is rising. Okay. All right, beautiful people. Here we go. That's Wahoo, everybody. Shalom, shalom. All right, y'all. We already at Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Alicia, Yah, Tiffany. Yes, we jamming over here. Peaceful greetings. Uncle Nathaniel, that was Courtney Bell. Y'all know who Courtney Bell is. Y'all been asleep for a little while, right? All right, y'all. Put my pen out of here. And let's get going. YouTube, Linda Brown, Ali, Yah. That was, I just said it, Courtney Bell. Google Courtney Bell. Go to YouTube, you'll see Courtney Bell. I'll play some of his songs in here in the description box for y'all too today, y'all. Let me make myself a note, Courtney Bell. He on Facebook and YouTube. A lot of his stuff is on YouTube. Josiah says, Shalom, family. I have a question. I know we're still in the Feast of Unleavened Bread. When it comes to eating, are we allowed to eat items that have yeast in them? Or is it only talking about bread only? No. During this feast, Josiah, we're not supposed to be eating anything at all with yeast in it. So you have to be really careful. Make sure you check for byproducts, yeast byproducts, anything that says leavening in it, anything with yeast, cakes, cookies, anything that rise. Some pastas have yeast in them, not a lot of them, but some do. A lot of pastas are safe, but just kind of double check it. Anything that says leavening, self-rising, anything like that, yeast extract, any of those things. You can like Google like yeast and other words for yeast and other words for leavening, so you can get all of them and just kind of check through your stuff. You know, in a perfect world, we would have done that already before the feast started, but a lot of people that's just coming on board and want to join in the feast, they're wondering if they can join in now or do they have to wait till next year. No, by all means, start now, right? We all had to start somewhere, right? And I think when I first started realizing what we were supposed to be doing and keeping the feast, because they're memorial feasts, you know, you ain't got to be super religious about it, you know. The feasts are there to help us remember Yahuah's commands and what he has done for our ancestors and what he is still doing for us today. Yes, that's how you spell it, Courtney Bell. Yep, black guy. But in his music, he got all the truth all up and through his music. I love Courtney Bell. My sister, Alicia, y'all, she here. Hola. She actually put me on the Courtney Bell. You know, I love all his albums. Wonderful. But yeah, join in at any time, but absolutely no yeast. Well, at least we're not supposed to. If you eat something by mistake and you don't realize it later, oh, Father, forgive me. I didn't realize it's had yeast. You know, but I love chips. I love dip. I love chips and dip. You know, there are a couple brands of Doritos that have yeast in it, but most corn chips do not. Like this brand right here. Right here. These do not have yeast in it. So anything with corn most of the time, like if you love tacos, just kind of stay away from some of the flour, tortillas, and some of the other things that kind of rise, or gorditas, all this other stuff that may have yeast in it. It's best if you make your own so you know for a fact that you're not including any kind of yeast in your stuff and it's just as tasty, right? But yeah, just no yeast products at all for the entire 7-day feast, right? Okay, so, but anyway, please remind him. Yeah, please remind him he should remove it all from his home. Yes, you're supposed to remove it all from out your house. Now, in the perfect world, if we were back living in our land, there would not be any yeast in the land at all. Like none in the land at all. Because everybody that lives within the land would be keeping the commands and we would get it all out. Whether we dispose of it, we get rid of it, give it to the foreigners in other lands, whatever, but it wouldn't be there, right? So we clean it out of our homes. out of our jobs, out of our vehicles. Some people are gonna take this to go put it in the trunk of the car. That's still your property, my G. Don't put it in your trunk. Don't take it to your job, because that's still you. That's a part of you. Wherever you go, you should be keeping the commands wherever you go. This is you. This is what you do. No matter if you're at home, in your car, you out of town, you at work, wherever, right? All the time. But you're welcome, Josiah. But don't beat yourself up about it. Just, oh, now I'm aware. Okay. Now, as you become aware, just begin to implement it, right? Just don't tire yourself out like we were doing at the beginning. Like some people, oh my God, we just broke commandment. We're gonna go to here. We're gonna die. No, just calm down, people. It's a memorial feast. Not that we should take it any less serious because it's a memorial feast, because we absolutely should. But all I'm saying, you don't have to send yourself to the grave if one of your children come in the house eating a tasty cake or something during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Sweetie, remember, it's the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead. Whatever. You get what I'm saying? And you can't really, like, say if it's a couple adults, you can't really force another adult either, right? So everybody has to do it on their own time. And as you become convicted about it, or something you want to keep, then you keep it yourself. You can teach your children, but, you know, everybody else, they learn as they learn. And when they decide they want to do it, they'll choose to do it on their own, right? So, guys, don't do that. Don't beat other people over top of the head.
I got something you can do.
I know you do, Mr. Murphy. Okay, babe. Drive safe. Love you. Okay. So, but yeah, that's really how it is. Kids found a pizza with no yeast, they were happy. Yeah, I know, right? Some gluten-free flour flatbread has no yeast. Yeah, so a lot of the things you can get right creative, and they have more aisles depending on where you go. Like Whole Foods stores, they have aisles or Jewish aisles or whatever, or different ethnic aisles with different things in it. We can find some good stuff that you can use, right? I was devastated when I realized on Tuesday my non-dairy creamer had baking soda. Yeah, so, ooh, I got some non-dairy creamer. No, see, here's how I look at it. Tiffany, although it has baking soda in it. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Okay, so now you have different agents. Now, if you just got a yeast agent sitting in your house, get rid of it, right? That's yeast. It says yeast. But if you have two different things, but by themselves, they aren't leavening agents. But if you add them with something else, they become leavening agents. Then I wouldn't necessarily get rid of them. I just wouldn't add them together to perform that. Although I'm not 100% sure, I just doing that week because I'm not too sure yet. I just wouldn't put those things together to cause that yeast rising reaction, right? Sometimes you can use eggs to do that. Matter of fact, you can use chickpea flour and stuff like that causes that thing, the whole rising thing. I'm not sure about that. So sometimes I'm not sure about that. If you do have those things in your house, I just wouldn't add it together during that week to cause that reaction. Yeah. As long as you don't put vinegar in your coffee. That ain't funny. Yeah, but yeah, they're not yeast, but they can be used to create that desired yeast. Buttermilk and baking soda reaction. You can add some things together to cause that, but it's not necessarily yeast in itself. So those things are okay. I don't think we need to get rid of those. Yahuah says yeast specifically, yeast and leaven, stuff like that. Okay. Oh, my nephew asked me, what's my point of view of that new Godzilla and King Kong movie? It's too many subtitles, codes in it. I wanted to see if you've seen the previews. I have seen the previews. I actually want to see it, right? I already have my thoughts about Godzilla and King Kong, right? But I'm gonna watch the movie. When I do see it, I'll let y'all know what I personally pull from it, right? But that's that, y'all. So let's go ahead and get started today. It is Thursday, April the 1st. To some people, it's April Fool's Day, right? I don't really get into it anymore, but I still got to be on watch for a few jokesters in my family with different stuff, especially my Aunt Selena. So I'll be watching out for her today and some of her shenanigans, right? Okay, so it's April the 1st, 2021. Day 117 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count is day 786. It is the 5th day of unleavened bread. Today we're reading 2 Samuel 4, 5, and 6. And then we're going to hop on over to the Legends of the Jews, starting on page 456. So let's go ahead and get started with the Shema. The Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuah, our God, He is one God, and you shall love Yahuah, your God, with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuah our God for our good always, that He might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuah our God as He has commanded us. All right, beautiful people, so let's go ahead and hop on over here. 2 Samuel chapter 4. The murder of Ishbosheth. When Ishbosheth, Saul's son, heard about Abner's death at Hebron, he lost all courage, and all Israel became paralyzed with fear. Now there were 2 brothers, Bana and Rechab, who were captains of Ishbosheth's raiding parties. They were sons of Rimmon, a member of the tribe of Benjamin, who lived in Beeroth. In the town of Beeroth is now part of Benjamin's territory, because the original people of Beeroth fled to Gittim, where they still live as foreigners. Saul's son Jonathan had a son named Mephibosheth, who was crippled as a child. He was 5 years old when the report came from Jezreel that Saul and Jonathan had been killed in battle. When the child's nurse heard the news, she picked him up and fled. But as she hurried away, she dropped him, and he became crippled. I wonder how high they was up in order for a 5-year-old to fall and be crippled, right? Like you were like riding high or something, because I don't know. But they had to be a little bit high in the air, like, but running and drop him. All right. Okay. One day, Rechab and Bana, the sons of Rimmon from Beeroth, went to Ishbosheth's house around noon, and as he was taking his midday rest, the doorkeeper, who had been sifting wheat, became drowsy and fell asleep. So Rechab and Bana slipped past her. They went into the house and found Ishbosheth sleeping on his bed. They struck and killed him and cut off his head. Then, taking his head with them, they fled across the Jordan Valley through the night. When they arrived at Hebron, they presented Ishbosheth's head to David. Look, they exclaimed to the king, here is the head of Ishbosheth, the son of your enemy Saul, who tried to kill you. Today, Yahuah has given my lord the king revenge on Saul and his entire family. But David said to Rechab and Bana, the Lord who saves me from all my enemies is my witness. Someone once told me Saul is dead, thinking he was bringing me good news. But I seized him and killed him at Ziklag. That's the reward I gave him for his news. How much more should I reward evil men who have killed an innocent man in his own house and on his bed? Shouldn't I hold you responsible for his blood and rid the earth of you? So David ordered his young men to kill them, and they did. They cut off their hands and feet and hung their bodies beside the pool in Hebron. Then they took Ishbosheth's head and buried it in Abner's tomb in Hebron. 2 Samuel chapter 5. Then all the tribes of Israel went to David at Hebron and told him, we are your own flesh and blood. In the past, when Saul was our king, you were the one who really led the forces of Israel. And Yahuah told you, you will be the shepherd of my people Israel. You will be Israel's leader. So here at Hebron, King David made a covenant before Yahuah and with all the elders of Israel, and they anointed him king of Israel. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years in all. He had reigned over Judah from Hebron for 7 years and 6 months, and from Jerusalem he reigned over all of Israel and Judah for 33 years. David led his men to Jerusalem to fight against the Jebusites, the original inhabitants of the land who were living there. The Jebusites taunted David, saying, "You will never get in here. Even the blind and lame could keep you out." The Jebusites thought they were safe, but David captured the fortress of Zion, which is now called the City of David. On the day of the attack, David said to his troops, "I hate those lame and blind Jebusites. Whoever attacks them should strike by going into the city through the water tunnel." That is the origin of the saying, "The blind and lame may not enter the house." So David made the fortress his home, and he called it the City of David, right? So remember how we talk about how places are destroyed. They went in here and they destroyed the Jebusite city, right? And they destroyed it by removing the people. Some people they let stay, but they renamed it, right? So the Jebusite city is now called the City of David. And so the other city is no more. Yet it still stands, but it has been taken over and it's ruled by another people. And that's literally how I believe that when scripture talks about how the great whore of Babylon will be destroyed, just like they came in here and destroyed the original inhabitants and the original inhabitants of this land, and they destroyed it and they renamed everything, changed names of cities, towns, streets, capitals, buildings. It's going to happen the same exact way. Some places will literally be destroyed, like Sodom and Gomorrah, poof, pow, no more, completely wiped off the face of the planet, right? But other places will be destroyed by other people coming in, taking up residence, changing the names. Think about all the statues and things that were starting to be taken down, right? We're clearing out the era of the racism and the Confederate flags and all those things. We're tearing down those monuments. We're destroying what they built, right? It's the same exact principle. It's happening that way. And a lot of people are missing what's happening right in front of their faces because they're thinking, boom, a bomb is going to come and blow up America. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that particular thing as of today. I used to believe that. Now, that could happen in some places, but the more information I gather and the more I look at the pattern that happens throughout the world and what's happening now, and I can see it happening in the same fashion that it happened before, I must now adjust my thinking, right? Hopefully, as you guys gather new information and you test it, find it to be true, you will begin to adjust as well, right? Okay. So David made the fortress his home, and he called it the City of David. He extended the city, starting at the supporting terraces and working inward. And David became more and more powerful because Yahuah, the God of heaven's armies, was with him. Then King Hiram of Tyre sent messengers to David, along with cedar, timber, and carpenters and stonemasons, and they built David a palace. And David realized Yahuah had confirmed him as king over Israel and had blessed his kingdom for the sake of his people Israel. After moving from Hebron to Jerusalem, David married more concubines and wives, and they had more sons and daughters. These are the names of David's sons who were born in Jerusalem: Shammua, Shobab, Nathan, Solomon, Ibhar, Elishua, Nepheg, Japhia, Elishama, Elida, and Eliphalet. When the Philistines heard that David had been anointed king of Israel, they mobilized all their forces to capture him. But David was told they were coming, so he went into the stronghold. The Philistines arrived and spread out across the valley of Rephaim. So David asked Yahuah, "Should I go out to fight the Philistines? Will you hand them over to me?" Yahuah replied to David, "Yes, go ahead. I will certainly hand them over to you." So David went to Baal Perazim and defeated the Philistines there. "Yahuah did it," David exclaimed. "He burst through my enemies like a raging flood." So he named that place Baal Perazim, which means Yahuah who burst through. The Philistines had abandoned their idols there, so David and his men confiscated them. Oh, shoot, I dropped my little down. But after a while, the Philistines returned and again spread out across the valley of Rephaim. And again, David asked Yahuah what to do. Do not attack them straight on, Yahuah replied. Instead, circle around behind and attack them near the poplar trees. When you hear the sound like marching feet in the tops of the poplar trees, be on alert. That will be the signal that Yahuah is moving ahead of you to strike down the Philistine army. So David did what Yahuah commanded, and he struck down the Philistine army all the way from Gibeon to Gezer. And if you remember this part, we read over this in the Legends of the Jews. They talked about this, and this is going to be the signal. When you hear the marching feet in the top of the trees, that's how you know when to go. Go with that signal right there, right? Okay, 2 Samuel chapter 6, last chapter for today before we move over into the Legends of the Hebrews. Then David again gathered all the elite troops in Israel, 30,000 in all. He led them to Bela of Judah to bring them back to the ark of Yahuah, which bears the name of Yahuah, the Lord of heaven's armies, who is enthroned between the cherubim. They placed the ark of Yahuah on a new cart and brought it from Abinadab's house, which is on top of a hill. Uzzah and Ahio, Abinadab's sons, were guiding the cart that carried the ark of Yahuah. Ahio walked in front of the ark. David and all the people of Israel were celebrating before Yahuah, singing songs and playing all kinds of musical instruments, lyres, harps, tambourines, castanets, and cymbals. When they arrived at the threshing floor of Nacon, the oxen stumbled, and Uzzah reached out his hand and steadied the ark of Yahuah. Then Yahuah's anger was aroused against Uzzah, and Yahuah struck him dead because of this. So Uzzah died right there beside the ark of Yahuah. David was angry because Yahuah's anger had burst out against Uzzah, and he named that place Perez Uzzah, which means to burst out against Uzzah, as it is still called today. And everybody that knows, once you get familiar with the text, those who read this would immediately know why Uzzah died. First of all, you weren't even supposed to be touching the ark, right? Second of all, the ark should have been carried on the priest's shoulders, right? If everything was in place like Yahuah had set it out, we wouldn't have had this happen, right? Okay. Now, David was afraid of Yahuah, and he asked, how can I ever bring the ark of Yahuah back into my care? So David decided not to move the ark of Yahuah into the city of David. Instead, he took it to the house of Obed-Edom of Gath. The ark of Yahuah remained there in Obed-Edom's house for 3 months, and Yahuah blessed Obed-Edom and his entire household. Then King David was told, Yahuah has blessed Obed-Edom's house and everything he has because of the ark of Yahuah. So David went there and brought the ark of Yahuah from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of David with a great celebration. After the men who were carrying the ark of Yahuah had gone 6 steps, David sacrificed the bull and a fattened calf, and David danced before Yahuah with all his might, wearing a priestly garment. So David and all the people of Israel brought up the ark of Yahuah with shouts of joy and the blowing of the ram's horns. But as the ark of Yahuah entered the city of David, Michal, the daughter of Saul, looked down from her window. When she saw King David leaping and dancing before Yahuah, she was filled with contempt for him. They brought the ark of Yahuah and set it in its place inside the special tent David had prepared for it. And David sacrificed burnt offerings and peace offerings to Yahuah. When he had finished his sacrifices, David blessed the people in the name of Yahuah, the Lord of heaven's armies. Then he gave every Israelite man and woman in the crowd a loaf of bread, a cake of dates, and a cake of raisins, and all the people returned to their homes. When David returned home to bless his own family, Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet him. She said in disgust, how distinguished the king of Israel looked today, shamelessly exposing himself to the servant girls like any vulgar person might do. David retorted to Michal, I was dancing before Yahuah, who chose me above your father and all his family. He appointed me as the leader of Israel, the people of Yahuah, so I celebrated before Yahuah. Yes, I am willing to look even more foolish than this, even to be humiliated in my own eyes. But those servant girls you mentioned will indeed think I am distinguished. So Michal, the daughter of Saul, remained childless throughout her entire life. We don't really need to say too much more about that, do we? Sis better get it together. All right, y'all. So that was 2 Samuel 4, 5, and 6. Let's go ahead and hop on over here to the legends of the Jews, or the legends of the Hebrews. Joanne, shalom, shalom. Uh-oh. My book hit it. Sorry, people. All right. Oh, Aliyah. I did, of course, you know, I watched the video that you sent, but I watched that, but more people are posting videos. Remember you asked me, had I seen that video about the strange thing in the sky in Oregon? I saw that quite a few people, I went through and I saw it, they posted it. But of course you got the news channels coming out, they're saying, okay, this was this and this was that. You know, they're trying to cover up different things about what happened. Now, I had a dream a while ago. Is my mom here? A few months back, I told her about this dream that I had where something was happening in the sky, and I didn't know exactly what it was, but I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, and Yahuah was telling me, they said they're going to start covering up. Clearly, we know they're trying to cover up stuff, right? Because they're trying to cover up whatever it is being seen in the sky with chemtrails and different things like that, right? So there is something up there, right? I wouldn't necessarily be like, yes, the Lord is coming back for us. Yes, yes. But I'm telling you, like I posted in my video yesterday, a response to Rap the News video. It's y'all are not, whatever that is, it's not for the sons and daughters of Jacob, right? It is signs and stuff in the sky, but y'all better know, remember, like I said, I kept repeating it, the righteous inherit the earth. We're not going anywhere. The righteous stay here. The righteous stay here. The righteous get to stay here, right? So but there's multiple news channels, they're posting stuff and they're saying, oh, well, they're doing this space launch today, so this is debris from here, and you know, this is because of this, or this is a shadow from that, and just as the sun was rising real good, this is what caused this to look like this, and that's why it looks like this. And I'm like, that's a bunch of garbage, you know. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is, and I'm not gonna sit here and say what it is because I don't know, but clearly we can tell that there's something there, right? But like I mentioned, the dream that I had a few months back, actually it was last year, because I got it written down. It was in 2020 where I had it, and there was something that had happened in the sky, and all the world could see it, and the news channels, whoever is running them, they got all the news channels to get the story together so they could put out the same story. And then they called like heads of corporations, people who had major influence, to give them the same story. And my mom happened to be one of the people whom they called, who works for one of these big corporations where they were putting out this information. But in a dream, Yahuah had given me this, he had given me this scroll of what truly was happening in the sky. Now, when I woke up, I don't remember what the scroll said. All I remember was this is exactly what is happening. And he gave me the coordinates on the map. He said, give this to your mom. Tell her this is what's really going on, and not to be taken by the lies that they're putting out and they're telling to the whole world. And here's by where you would know that this is the truth, right? And I'm sitting here and I wish that I could remember what was up there. All I remember was that what they were saying it was a complete fabrication of what it truly was, to kind of keep trying to keep the world at peace as long as possible. You know how y'all see these movies and like a big, say, a tsunami or something, like some of these movies like 2012 and some of the other ones like that, like these end of the world movies. It's like they'll try and keep the world calm as long as possible until they can't anymore, and then complete pandemonium breaks out. It's like they try to keep the world at like, oh, everything is fine, yet they giving people numbers. Your name is being called on this secret thing. Get your family here to the airport. We get you to the bunker. Boom, boom, boom. And then some people find out, wait, how y'all get the number? Why are they calling you? Why are they paging your phone? Why didn't they call me, John? Why didn't they call me? Or take my daughter, John, we can't take them. We can't. And then they standing out there with their kids. If you can't take me, at least take my kids. And all kind of crazy movies like that, right? It's like they telling the world everything is okay, yet behind the scenes, the military, you see military flying all over the place, and everybody's like, okay, they're telling us everything okay, but you got Marine, they what are they doing? They setting up barriers. New York City, they got bunkers like underground and watertight seals and things where like you come here, you got this much time to get here. It's like, okay, they doing all of this stuff. We can see them doing all of this stuff, and I'm like, at this point, I'm like, Father, look, whatever it is, clearly we're not privy to unless we get inside information from Yahuah. I was like, but all this stuff, ain't nowhere in the world most of the little people like us that spread out all across this world going to be able to get into wherever these safe havens and these bunkers may be, where they trying to protect these more important people from whatever it is that's coming. I said, clearly, we just living on our faith, the hope, and the prayer that we going to be okay, right? But Scripture also says that Yahuah will go down until you can Google this and find a scripture. Those who think that they're going to be saved by shooting themselves up into the sky, it's not that word, but those who try to find their homes in the heavens or up in the sky, or those that even build bunkers in the ground, Yahuah said, I will send his host down there to pull you out of the ground and to snatch you out of the sky. They think they're running to get away from whatever it is that they think they're going to hide from, right? And keeping shielded from the masses of people. But Yahuah said, I'm still going to get you. If you make your home down in the grave, I'm going to come there and I'm going to find you and I'm going to pull you out of there, right? So I wouldn't be flipping out, getting all kind of crazy and because you think zombies is going to invade the planet, whatever. Guys, it's all kind of crazy stuff that they saying. I'm just like, Father, here's what I know is true. I know you are true. I know you exist. I know I can hear from you. I may not have all the pieces of the puzzle of all this crazy mess that's going on. But what I do know is that you said if I keep your commands, you will keep me and my household. So that's the principles we're going to live by. Now, as we come across truth and we understand some things and we understand some stuff, I'm going to share it with y'all. You know, let me know. No, sis, you tripping. That ain't that. This is what this is. Oh, okay. Well, thank you for that. You know, I ain't... let me know if I'm off. Y'all let me know. Like, I do the same thing for y'all, right? We need to work together. Okay, yeah, that's how you know it's not from the Most High, because the righteous Malakis can only come on behalf of the Most High, not like the Watchers' times. It's another distraction from the heathens. Yeah, I believe that. Absolutely, right? Because you got to think about it. And look, they, like I said, they've been preparing the world for whatever it is, and I don't really know what it is. I'm not claiming to know what it is. I've had dreams about it. I really don't understand it, but what I know is there is something. I don't know what it is. I can never remember exactly what it is, and neither can I remember what this was on this map that Yahuah told me to give to my mom. He said, tell her that this is what's really going on, and tell her not to be fooled by what they're putting out here to the masses and what their corporate CEO is going to tell them this is. Matter of fact, it said in the dream that there was a meeting called, and all the corporate CEOs, they got the same story that the news people were pushing out so that they can push it out to their people, and so their people can push it out to people that can kind of spread out like that, lie spread like that. But even in the dreams, I seen these black Suburbans like in long lines. Like, you know, I've seen movies like they taking the president, their long line of vehicles getting where brigades, whatever you want to call them, not brigades, but their long line of black SUVs whereby you can tell, okay, this is somebody important, something. But anyway, I seen these traveling across the road, like trying to get this information. I'm like, I don't know what this is. But Father, I know, like, I had a complete peace, but we needed to know not to be fooled by the information that they were putting out to the masses, because it was a complete fabrication of what was really going on. And soon enough, the world would see what the truth is, because they can only hide it for so long. So that's that. So let's go ahead and get into the reading. So either way it goes, yes, Pootie, we just living life and just realizing that the righteous, we secure our place here on earth. Yes. What? Where's that, Pootie? Oh, I forgot what I did. Your brother came and took it. Go see if it's upstairs in their room. Okay, y'all. So hop over here to page 456, and we're going to pick up with the flight of Jonah. Okay. Among the many thousands of disciples whom Elisha gathered about him during the 60 years and more of his activity, the most prominent was the prophet Jonah. While the master was still alive, Jonah was charged with the important mission of anointing Jehu king. The next task laid upon him was to proclaim their destruction to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. The doom did not come to pass because they repented of their wrongdoing, and Yahuah had mercy upon them. Among the Israelites, Jonah was therefore known as the false prophet. When he was sent to Nineveh to prophesy the downfall of the city, he reflected, I know to a certainty that the heathen will do penance. Yes, baby.
Check my boys' room and it's not in there either.
It's not in there either?
Yeah.
Go look and see if they threw it in a toy box. You might have to remove all the toys one by one to see. And then put them all back one by one. They better keep her distracted for a little bit. Among the Israelites, Jonah was therefore known as the false prophet. When he was sent to Nineveh to prophesy the downfall of the city, he reflected, I know to a certainty that the heathen will do penance or repent. The threatened punishment will not be executed, and among the heathen too, I shall gain the reputation of being a false prophet. Yes,
Whoa.
yes.
I looked in a small one.
Look in the big one. To escape this disgrace, he determined to take up his abode on the sea, where there were none to whom prophecies never to be fulfilled. Where there were none to whom prophecies never to be fulfilled would have to be delivered. On his arrival at Joppa, there was no vessel in port. To try him, Yahuah caused a storm to arise, and it carried a vessel back to Joppa, which had made a 2 days' journey away from the harbor. The prophet interpreted this chance to mean that Yahuah approved his plan. He was so rejoiced at the favorable opportunity for leaving land that he paid the whole amount for the entire cargo in advance,
Mom,
no less a sum of money than 4,000 gold
It's not in
denarii.
there either.
Well, baby girl, I don't know where it is, okay? We'll look for it in a minute, okay? We'll look for it in a minute. And in a minute, we'll go, I don't know, we'll go out in the back and see if it's back there, okay? But you got to wait till I'm done with my video. Don't go out there by yourself. He was so rejoiced at the favorable opportunity for leaving land that he paid the whole amount for the entire cargo in advance, no less than a sum of 4,000 gold denarii. After a day's sailing out from shore, a terrific storm broke loose. Wonderful to relate, it injured no vessels but Jonah's. Thus he was taught the lesson that Yahuah is over heathen and earth and sea, and man can hide himself nowhere from his face. Right? You know what we just said about them hiding down in the bunkers and up in the sky. Look, real quick. Real quick. Back to what I was saying, where they've been preparing people for like 2,000 years for this rapture that's happening. Even think about what the news and NASA has been putting out. Oh, we found life on other planets. But, well, not necessarily life. But we found multiple planets like the planet Earth that is inhabitable, right? Like all these things. Oh, so when these spaceships come, or this rapture comes, or these chariots of Yah come, they already know it's been tested. Even America been putting out, there is other planets out here that's just like Earth. We can get out of here because the Earth is going to be destroyed. You go if you want to. When Yahuah had already told you the righteous inherit earth, right? The righteous stay here. I just want to say that. It's because if y'all haven't been paying attention, y'all thinking y'all going to be raptured up out of here. Yahuah never said that. Yahuah never said that out of his mouth. Neither did any of the prophets that Yahuah sent say that out of their mouth. I need y'all to be mindful of this, because I'm not sure what kind of event gonna happen or what's gonna take place. Something truly may happen, but all I know is I ain't going nowhere. I'm staying right here. Right here on this earth. Because what I know is that if Yahuah wants to take me, he can just take me, right? He'll just take me. He created me. He's the designer, the manufacturer of this, right? Of all of this. And if he wants to see me, he can call me up at any given time. Or whatever time he can take me physically, he can take me in my sleep, whatever, right? What they say, the rich has already bought plots on another planet. That's what I'm telling you, my G. I'm like, this. Trina, like Pastor Campbell used to say, this is foolishness gone to sea. Like, and I'm a sailor. I'm prior Navy. This is complete foolishness gone to sea, right? And what's crazy, it's not just a Christian church that's believing this whole rapture thing, y'all. I used to be right there with them. I used to believe this. But as I actually started reading the Bible for myself, this is not when Yahuah speaks, this is not what he says. And they call it the Old Testament. And like I said, there's a poor name for the covenant of the pieces that they did put in here as they canonize it. It's a poor name for it, right? What
I scared a bird in your plant and like a big one.
Really? It was a real big bird? And you scared it away?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Right here.
Okay, it was sitting on the ledge?
Well, come here.
No, well, I can't, because I gotta walk all the way through there, Tootie.
Well, look.
What?
Bird trying to get this.
Oh.
He's trying to eat your plant.
Oh, well, I put bird seed out there for them, so it's okay. You can let the birds do what they do.
Well, I guess scared.
Okay. The birds are our friends. Don't scare them. Okay. So yeah, y'all. They I'm just like, this is I'm like, is this really happening? People really believe, like, they're serious. They are. They're buying plots on other planets. They're like, look, y'all. This. Let me get back to reading here, because I could be talking about this all day. Look, okay. Thus he was taught the lesson that Yahuah is over the heathen and earth and sea, and man can hide himself nowhere from his face. On the same vessel were representatives of the 70 nations of the earth, each with his particular idols. Bella, close that. They all resolved to entreat their gods for succor, and the God from whom help would come should be recognized and worshipped as the only one true God. But help came from none. Then it was that the captain of the vessel approached Jonah where he lay asleep. Wait a minute, Courtney. Where he lay asleep, and said to him, we are suspended twixt life and death, and thou layest here
Mommy,
asleep.
Let's make this dough.
We're going to make this dough, sweetie, okay? Let me finish this. She ready to make some more unleavened bread. Talking about some, let's make this dough. She just want to play in it. Look, okay. Pray, tell me, to what nation dost thou belong? I am a Hebrew, replied Jonah. We have heard, said the captain, that the God of the Hebrews is the most powerful. Cry to him for help. Perhaps he will perform such miracles for us as he did in days of old for the Hebrews at the Red Sea. Jonah confessed to the captain that he was to blame for the whole misfortune, and that he besought him to cast him adrift and appease the storm. The other passengers refused to consent to so cruel an act, though the lot decided against Jonah. They first tried to save the vessel by throwing the cargo overboard. Their efforts were in vain. Then they placed Jonah at the side of the vessel and spoke, O Lord of the world, reckon this not upon us, against us as innocent blood, for we know not the case of this man, and he himself bids us to throw him into the sea. Even then they could not make up their minds to let him drown. First they immersed him up to his knees in the water of the sea, and the storm ceased. They drew him back into the vessel, and forthwith the storm raged in its old fury. 2 more trials they made. They lowered him into the water up to his navel. They raised him out to the depths when the storm was assuaged. Again, when the storm broke out anew, they lowered him back into his neck, and a second time they took him back into the vessel when the wind subsided. But finally, the renewed rage of the storm convinced them that their danger was due to Jonah's transgression, and they abandoned him to his fate. Like, they was like, Jonah's like, look, just go ahead and drop me over the side. I'm the whole reason for all this. It was like, yeah, no, we can't let you drown, bro. So they took him, they put him in the water down to his knees. Oh, the storm stopped. Oh, come on, bring this boy back up in this boat. Okay, put him back in the boat. It picked up again, and all its fuel. Like, wait a minute, put him back in the water. Put him down to his navel this time. The storm stopped. Clearly, this is just coincidence. Pull that man back in this boat. Storm picked back up. Wait a minute. Drop that nigga in the water. And the storm calmed down. It's like, you on your own, bro. We out of here. We leave you to your own fate. Look, I'll go back and read it. Look. Jonah confessed to the captain that he was to blame for the whole misfortune, and he besought him to cast him adrift and appease the storm. The other passengers refused to consent to so cruel an act. Though the lot decided against Jonah, they first tried to save the vessel by throwing the cargo overboard. Their efforts were in vain. Then they placed Jonah to the side of the vessel and spoke, O Lord of the world, reckon this not up against us as innocent blood, for we know not the case of this man, and he himself bids us to throw him into the sea. Even then they could not make up their minds to let him drown. First they immersed him up to his knees in the water of the sea, and the storm ceased. They drew him back into the vessel, and forthwith the storm raged in its old fury. 2 more trials they made. They lowered him into the water up to his navel and raised him out of the depths when the storm was assuaged. Again, when the storm broke out anew, they lowered him back into his neck, and a second time they took him back into the vessel when the wind subsided. But finally, the renewed rage of the storm convinced them that their danger was due to Jonah's transgression, and they abandoned him to his fate. He was thrown into the water, and in an instant the sea grew calm. At the creation of the world, Yahuah made a fish intended to harbor Jonah. He was so large that the prophet was comfortable inside of him as in a spacious synagogue. The eyes of the fish served Jonah as windows, and beside there was a diamond which shone as brilliantly as the sun at midday, so that Jonah could see all things in the sea down to its very bottom. It is a law that when their time has come, all the fish in the sea must betake themselves to Leviathan and let the monster devour them. The life term of Jonah's fish was about to expire, and the fish warned Jonah of what was to happen. When he, with Jonah in his belly, came to Leviathan, the prophet said to the monster, For thy sake I came hither. I was meet that I should know thine abode, for it is my appointed task to capture thee in the life to come and slaughter thee for a table of the just and pious. When Leviathan observed the sign of the covenant on Jonah's body, he fled affrighted, and Jonah and the fish were saved. Look. When Leviathan observed the sign of the covenant on Jonah's body, he fled affrighted, and Jonah and the fish were saved. What is the covenant of Yahuah's people, right? It's the circumcision. To show his gratitude, the fish carried Jonah whithersoever there was a sight to be seen. He showed him the river from which the ocean flows, showed him the spot at which the Israelites crossed the Red Sea, showed him Gehenna and Sheol, and many other mysterious and wonderful places. 3 days Jonah spent in the belly of the fish, and he still felt so comfortable that he did not think of imploring Yahuah to change his condition. But Yahuah sent a female fish, big with 365,000 little fish, to Jonah's host, to demand the surrender of the prophet, else she would swallow both him and the guests he harbored. The message was received with incredulity, and Leviathan had to come and corroborate it. He himself had heard. Yahuah dispatched the female fish on her errand. So it came about that Jonah was transferred to another abode. His new quarters, which he had to share with all the little fish, were far from comfortable, and from the bottom of his heart a prayer for deliverance arose to Yahuah on high. The last words of his long petition were, I shall redeem my vow, whereupon Yahuah commanded the fish to spew Jonah out. At the distance of 965 parasangs from the fish, he alighted on the dry land. These miracles induced the ship's crew to abandon idolatry, and they all became pious proselytes in Jerusalem. The repentance of Nineveh. Jonah went straight away to Nineveh, the monster city covering 40 square parasangs and containing 1.5 million of human beings. He lost no time in proclaiming their destructions to the inhabitants. The voice of the prophet was so sonorous that it reached to every corner of the great city, and all who heard his words resolved to turn aside from their ungodly ways. At the head of the penitents was King Asnapher of Assyria. He descended from his throne and removed his crown, strewn ashes on his head instead, took off his purple garments, and rolled about in the dust of the highways. Listen, hold on, I wonder if this is going to say this. Hold on. Because this tells us who this king was. His name is just changed. I know they said it in another place. Or it could be later down the line. Hold on. Is it over here? Let me keep reading. At the head of the penitents was King Asnapper of Assyria. He descended from his throne, removed his crown, strewed ashes on his head instead, took off his purple garments, and rolled about in the dust of the highways. In all the streets, royal heralds proclaimed the king's decree, bidding the inhabitants fast 3 days, wear sackcloth, and supplicate Yahuah with tears and prayers to avert the threatened doom. The people of Nineveh barely compelled to Yahuah's mercy to descend upon them. They held their infants heavenward, and amid streaming tears they cried, for the sake of these innocent babies, hear our prayers. The young of their stalled cattle they separated from their mother beasts, The young were left within the stable, and the old were put without. So parted from one another, the young and the old began to bellow aloud. Then the Ninevites cried, If thou would not have mercy upon us, we would not have mercy upon these beasts. The penance of the Ninevites did not stop at fasting and praying. Their deeds showed that they had determined to lead a better life. If a man had usurped another's property, he sought to make amends for his iniquity. Some went so far as to destroy their palaces in order to be able to give back a single brick to the rightful owner. Of their own accord, others appeared before the courts of justice, confessed their secret crimes and sins, known to none besides themselves, and declared themselves ready to submit to well-merited punishment, though it be death that was decreed against them. One incident that happened at the time will illustrate the contrition of the Ninevites. A man found a treasure in a building lot he had acquired from his neighbor. Both buyer and seller refused to assume the possession of the treasure. The seller insisted that the sale of the lot carried with it the sale of all it contained. The buyer held that he had bought the ground, not the treasure hidden therein. Neither rested satisfied until the judge succeeded in finding out who had hidden the treasure and where were his heirs, and the joy of the two was great when they could deliver the treasure up to its legitimate owners. Seeing that the Ninevites had undergone a real change of heart, Yahuah took mercy upon them and pardoned them. Thereupon Jonah likewise felt encouraged to plead for himself with Yahuah, that he forgive him for his flight. Yahuah spoke to him, Thou wast mindful of mine honor. The prophet had not wanted to appear a liar, so that men's trust in Yahuah might not be shaken. And for this reason thou did take to the sea. Therefore did I deal mercifully with thee and rescue thee from the bowels of Sheol. So just a quick recap. Jonah, like he said, when prophets say things and it doesn't come to pass, and people are listening to these prophets, right, who even claim that the Most Holy has sent them, right? But Yahuah tells us, he said, if it doesn't come to pass, these prophets have been presumptuous and they are lying, right? They're lying to the people, and they say, you do not need to be afraid about what this prophet says. You do not need to be afraid of this prophet, because a lot of them, when what they say doesn't come to pass, they then like to pull scriptures out of context, or don't you put your mouth on the man of God, or don't you put your mouth on the woman of God. It's a bunch of hogwash. You're a liar, and Yahuah did not call you. He did not speak that to you, right? So listen, people, same thing is happening today, right? Same thing is happening today. The pastors, the prophets, even some of the prophets that have graduated and call themselves apostles, they have to eat crow, right? And they don't want to eat crow. Their pride has gotten the best of them, and they don't want to say that, oh, I missed it. Maybe Yahuah didn't speak to me, because true indeed, they're going to lose a lot of credibility with some people. Now, some people is going to stick with them to the end. We get it, but some people, they're going to lose forever, right? Because if we know prophets of the Most High, how many times, if we just stick with what we see here, when Yahuah was in full operation, he's always been in full operation, but let's look at the prophets who we know Yahuah truly called, i.e. Moses. Moses was a prophet, right? It said Moses was a prophet. Abraham. You don't hear it a lot, but it says Abraham was a prophet, right? Daniel was a prophet, right? Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Joel, Amos. If we go through it, we can name all of these, right? Every time they spoke what they spoke, because it truly did come from Yahuah, it came to pass. Now, here's something where people play on the ignorant. Prophets who prey upon the ignorant, right? Here's what they do. And it's so subtle that you miss it. Well, most of you miss it. Not saying you, but most people miss it. And they get taken by words of false prophets, right? You see it all over the internet, even to today. People still posting stuff and people not paying attention. Here's what we know, and here's why over the last couple of years I brought it out when we're going through it. Listen, Yahuah gives time markers. Yahuah is very specific about what he says. When Yahuah says something is going to happen, he gives you pinpoint precision dates, right? He may not say August the 4th, 2019. He may not say that date, but he will tell you. Just think about with Isaiah, right? Because King Ahaz didn't believe what was going to happen. He was afraid of two kings that were coming. So he sent Isaiah. He said, listen, look, he said the maiden, scriptures take this out of context. They change the word. They screw around and replace it with English words that have, it sounds the same and it looks the same, but they have dual meanings, right? They take the word virgin, right? They replace the word maiden, young woman, and they replace it with the word virgin, when in the original scrolls it never said virgin. It said the young maiden shall become pregnant with a child. Now if you read it and you interpret it in a Christian church, it said the young virgin will become pregnant with a child. Then they take this mistranslated, screwed up interpretation, take this, set it as a teaching in a church, and build a whole nother religion on it, right? But if you go back and read it for what it says, Yahuah says he sent Isaiah to tell King Ahaz, and this is the whole thing. What Yahuah said, how we going? Because Ahaz ain't listening. There was a whole council going on, right? Matter of fact, in Kings, it's a couple different stories. I'm sorry, I was mixing two stories. You got Micaiah, and then you got the one with Isaiah with the virgin, right? There's two different. So I'm sorry, I was mixing two stories together. But the one specifically in Isaiah said, tell him, this is how you're going to know, right? The young woman shall become pregnant with a child. And by the time this child can recognize good from evil, he will be eating he will be eating honey and butter, right? Butter and honey. And if you go through and you read this and you understand what was going on, what he was saying when you read it in context. Now, first of all, when a child begins to recognize good from evil, if we just look at our own children today in 2021, think about our children, right? When children begin to learn the difference between right and wrong, or they know they did something wrong, that's what, probably about 1-2 years old. 2, it depends on, even if they're a slow learner, 2-3 years old possibly, because children know when they do something wrong. You can tell they it's internal within them. They know if they done something wrong, right? Oops, they get quiet, or they start hiding stuff. If they broke something or they spilled something, they know when they did something wrong. He said, before this child can recognize good from evil, this is going to happen and this is going to happen. So what time span is that, right? That's about a 1 to 2 year time span. And who was this woman who would get pregnant? If we read down in the footnotes of most of the Bibles, it put it down there for you. This woman, because if you keep reading on, that's Isaiah chapter 7. If you keep on reading Isaiah chapter 8 and Isaiah chapter 9, it actually gives you the interpretation of what Yahuah said to Isaiah. This prophetess, or this young woman who would birth a child, was none other than the prophet Isaiah's wife, right? Who was also called a prophetess. That's in your footnotes of your Bible. If you still got one of the old Bibles that got the precepts and the footnotes or Thompson chain, all of that is there. But when you don't pay attention to that, you can be led astray by misinterpretations when you simply don't read. You don't need no deep interpretation. The Bible gives you the interpretation. Anytime Yahuah tells you something, he always gives the interpretation. You have to just keep reading, right? So Yahuah is very specific about when he says things will happen. He will give you a clue, something to look for, right? To where the church, they take it and they make everything vague. Soon. He's coming soon. And they've been saying this for you. Oh, he's coming soon. He's coming soon. When we read, Yahuah is very specific. Even when he snatched even when he snatched the throne from King Saul, what did he tell Samuel to tell him? When he said, what is this bleating of sheep in my ears? Because you did not obey me. And the world's wrong with this bag of chips. Hold on. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, y'all. Girl, give me a bowl. Because if I don't do it, she gonna make all kind of extra noise. Hurry up, Tootie. He said, he gave Saul a time marker, right? And he said, here is how you're going to know. He said, the man who cuts off a piece of your robe will be the next king who's going to take over this throne. The kingdom has been ripped from you, right? And who do we know? And we see that time marker. Remember, King David snuck up on him. Anything, he cut off a piece of his robe, right? Boom, time marker. That was maybe a couple years' time, right? But there is a clear time marker. Yahuah always gives specific, precision time markers when things are going to happen. It always happens through and through, right? Every single time. But the way they teach you about Yahuah, they make you think Yahuah's like bipolar and he forget what he done said, right? So you have to be very, very careful about prophets who give open-ended prophecies. And this is why Jonah ran. Jonah ran. He didn't go to Nineveh because he really didn't want Yahuah to forgive the people. Like y'all hear me talk about the VeggieTales. They slapping people with fishes, right? He didn't want to go there because they slap people with fish, right? He said the way they tell the story in a way, oh, Jonah, he didn't want to go because he thought these people deserved death. No, Jonah wanted to save his own reputation, which is why Yahuah did not allow the whale to kill him and him to drown in the sea. And this is what this is explaining. Jonah did not want to go. He said, because I know you are full of loving kindness and you are merciful and you forgive. And I know if I go, when destruction has already been decreed for Nineveh, and if I go and give them this word of destruction and they repent, I am going to be seen as a false prophet. And I don't want that. So it wasn't so much that he was trying to keep from giving them the word so they can be destroyed. he didn't want his own reputation to be destroyed because he was truly indeed a prophet of Yah. And they say he did not want to be labeled as a false prophet. Why? Because they knew Yahuah is very specific. He gives pinpoint precision information about when something is going to be. Yahuah does not give open-ended prophecies to his prophets. Yes, baby girl.
Now.
It is raining. So if you have not been paying attention to that, you get kind of lost and you get scared and you're thrown all over the place when prophets come and they prophesy, whether they're on YouTube or they're physically in your church. When they give you these open-ended prophecies, you begin to get scared. But if we know about the character of Yahuah, that's why I said if you have not spent time in the Old Testament learning about the character of Yahuah, you need to begin to do so. That's probably the only thing you need to read for a solid year. When you get to Malachi, go back to Genesis. Start at Genesis, go to Malachi. Start back at Genesis. When you get to Malachi, go again. Start. Because we've been so inundated with the New Testament that we walk around, and that's why the world laughs and mocks Christians. That's why everybody, people who live in all types of lifestyle, they can call on the name of JC, and y'all get it, right? It's a complete mess out here. Like, people out here, it's like you out here worshiping this pansy God. Like, Yahuah ain't never been a punk, right? Ain't nobody really gonna step to him. And it's probably the best thing that most of his people at this point really don't know his name, right? Because had you known his name, had you known his character, you would not be caught in some of these shenanigans. Some of these shenanigans that these prophets get all you caught up in and get you led astray, right? Get you looking at the wrong things. You cannot see the deception because you don't know Yahuah. You don't know how Yahuah operates, and that's why you're taken away, and your feelings and your emotions is all over the place. You're going to hell. Oh my God. No. They get you to give all your money away because you don't know the character of Yahuah. Like you're doing all kind of crazy stuff, flying vagabond people all over to lie more to your congregation because you don't know the character of Yahuah and how he operates, right? So that's what Jonah was running from. That's why he didn't want to go to Nineveh, because he knew Yahuah would forgive them. He knew that when the people heard the truth, it was going to pierce their heart and they were going to repent and destruction would be averted, right? And then you got them folks that's going to come out, oh, but the great prophet of God, you said this was going to happen and this didn't happen, right? So that's why you got a lot of them prophets leaving open-ended prophecies, not giving you dates and stuff because they know you got the ones with the pitchforks and shovels. They waiting. We'll be back here on August 23rd, 2021 to this post when this don't happen. Get the shotgun ready. We ready to go. Now, what you say was gonna happen? 3 days of darkness. What? Get ready. We back here. It is August. This is April, the whatever date. We ready. Shotgun, pitchforks, torches. Get them ready. We ready. We're coming back. Jonah knew that about the people. They're there all the time. They're ready to lynch you when what you say doesn't come to pass. Right? So you got to be very careful. Don't you go out here and put a title on yourself, because what do we also know is going to happen to prophets in the coming days, right? Those who label themselves prophets. It says it ain't nobody gonna call themselves a prophet, right? Because they're gonna know true prophets and they're gonna know those that are fake. Oh, then you say you're a prophet? Oh, no. I came to visit my cousin. I thought you said no. I work over here in the field. I'm a farmer. Ain't nobody gonna want to take on that term prophet. You can read that. I believe that's in, I want to say it's in Ezekiel. I'm going to have to look it up. Hold on. Let me make myself a note. Hold on. Prophet. Right. All those ones, they're going to, because it's going to be very serious blows for those who call themselves prophets and they are truly not, because they got a whooping coming for them because they led people astray, right? And they said in that day, ain't nobody going to call themselves a prophet. Oh, no, I'm not a prophet. I'm a farmer. I came to visit my cousin. I'm going to help him do some farming in his field. No, never been a prophet. No, who told you that? That's a lie. No, that's not me. My name is John Smith. That was Joseph Smith. No, that was Joseph Smith. I'm John Smith. right? Knowing you was just down at the courthouse and you got your papers finalized. Joseph is no more. This is now John. Look, people be playing around. I'm telling y'all, it's as clear as day. Let me finish this. Where we at? Oh my gosh, we're at an hour, 10 minutes. Look. Okay, so we almost reading this little paragraph. This is what Jonah was doing. He ran because he knew Yahuah was going to avert the destruction, because he knew that the people would repent, right? Okay, yeah, Yahuah, he ain't never been soft. He's stern, he's firm, but he's also loving, and he's kind, and he forgives us when we cry out, right? Ooh.
Just when y'all mess up, it's like a smack to the face. And he tells us many times, yeah, this is the content.
Right. Right, Jeremiah David. Listen, one incident, let me go, hold on. I'll read this. One incident that happened at the time would illustrate the contrition of the Ninevites. A man found a treasure in the building lot he had acquired from his neighbor. Both buyer and seller refused to assume possession of the treasure. The seller insisted that the sale of the lot carried with it the sale of all it contained. The buyer held that he had bought the ground, not the treasure hidden within. Neither rested satisfied until the judge succeeded in finding out who had hidden the treasure and where were his heirs. And the joy of the two was great when they could deliver the treasure up to its legitimate owners. Seeing that the Ninevites had undergone a real change of heart, Yahuah took mercy upon them and pardoned them. And these weren't even Israel. These weren't Yahuah's people. This was another nation. Rap the news. Shalom. Oh my gosh, I feel privileged. Shalom, brother. Look, okay. Seeing that the Ninevites had undergone a real change of heart, Yahuah took mercy upon them and pardoned them. Thereupon Jonah likewise felt encouraged to plead for himself with Yahuah. Hold on, baby, hold on. Thereupon Jonah likewise felt encouraged to plead for himself with Yahuah. That he forgave him for his flight. Yahuah spoke to him, "Thou was mindful of mine honor." The prophet had not here it is right here. The prophet had not wanted to appear a liar, so that men's trust in Yahuah might not be shaken. And for this reason thou did take to the sea. Therefore did I deal mercifully with thee and rescue thee from the bowels of Sheol. So Yahuah looks at the inward part, right? He looked at the inward part of the heart and why Jonah truly fled, because Jonah did not want to look like a lying prophet, somebody who was lying on Yahuah, because he knew Yahuah would forgive them. And therefore, when he spoke these words of destruction, that Yahuah in fact did tell him that as soon as destruction was averted and what the prophet said didn't come to pass, you had those waiting with the pitchforks and the torches. You lied, you're a lying prophet. And Jonah didn't want to appear as a lying prophet and avert people from Yahuah and turn them away from him. And Yahuah knew that. He knew that's why he did it. That's why he still saved Jonah in the first place, right? Thou was mindful of my honor. The prophet had not wanted to appear a liar, so that men's trust in Yahuah might not be shaken. And for this reason thou did take to the sea. Therefore did I deal mercifully with thee and rescue thee from the bowels of Sheol. His sojourn inside of the fish, the prophet could not easily dismiss from his mind, nor did it remain without visible consequences. The intense heat in the belly of the fish had consumed his garments and made his hair fall out, and he was sore plagued by swarms of insects. To afford Jonah protection, Yahuah caused the Kakion to grow up. When he opened his eyes in one morning, he saw a plant with 275 leaves, each leaf measuring more than a span, so that it afforded relief from the heat of the sun. But the sun smote the gourd that withered, and Jonah was again annoyed by the insects. He began to weep and wish for death to release him from his troubles. But when Yahuah led him to the plant and showed him what lesson he might derive from it, how, though he had not labored for the plant, he had pity on it, he realized his wrong in desiring Yahuah to be relentless toward Nineveh, the great city with its many inhabitants, rather than have his reputation as a prophet suffer taint. He prostrated himself and said, "O God, guide the world according to thy goodness. That almost just made me get teared up. Yahuah say, should I not save this great city which has more than 1 billion souls, right? And that's an exaggeration of what he said. More than 1 billion souls. Should I not save them and take pity on them? Yahuah was gracious to the people of Nineveh so long as they continued worthy of his loving kindness. But at the end of 40 days, they departed from the path of piety, and they became more sinful than ever. Then the punishment threatened by Jonah overtook them, and they were swallowed up by the earth. So they did get this judgment. It just averted it a little while, but it still destroyed them because they went back to their old ways, right? Jonah's suffering in the watery abyss had been so severe that by way of compensation of Yahuah exempted him from death. Living, he was permitted to enter paradise. Like Jonah, his wife was known far and wide for her piety. She had gained fame particularly through her pilgrimage to Jerusalem, a duty which, by reason of her sex, she was not obliged to fulfill. On one of these pilgrimages, it was that the prophetical spirit first descended upon Jonah. And that, my beautiful people, that is the reading for today. We started on page 456 and we ended on page 458. Let me write my marker. All right, y'all. So that we read in all today 2 Samuel 4, 5, and 6, and Legends of the Jews or Legends of the Hebrews, pages 456 to 458. And we'll pick this up actually with chapter 9 tomorrow, and it starts with Joash, right? Okay. So we'll pick this up tomorrow. Beautiful people, it is Thursday. Happy Thursday. Remember, we're on the 5th day of unleavened bread. April the 1st, 2021. Mom. Hold on, Pootie. Day 117 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 786. Let's go ahead and hop over here to the blessing real quick. So I know some people got to get to work. Forgive me for being a little long-winded today. But I wanted to point some stuff out to y'all, just in case you weren't paying attention. So we're not carried away by people who call themselves prophets, but the deception is bright and ready for you to see if you understand what Yahuah has said. Hold on. And the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow. Remember, a man or a woman can take the Nazarite vow. And Yahuah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuah bless us and keep us. May Yahuah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name. Whose name? Yahuah said my name. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. So that is it for today. All right, double check. Make sure I didn't miss one question.
It's Monday.
Sharing your comment is funny about the plots. Hold on.
I miss Monday.
Project Bluebeam. And yes, Jeremiah. Okay, I think I answered everything. Oh, wait, what? Hold on. Sister, you saw what one of those camps did? Sakari folks went clubbing after they finished their Passover. Feel bad for those following flesh than the Most High Yahuah words. No, I didn't see that. I kind of tend to stay away from the alphabet groups. I know why people call them that now, right? Sakari or UPSK or whatever the name. So I do look at their stuff sometimes just to, and not looking at them for teaching. But I'm just like, okay, have they adjusted their teaching? Have they become unstuck yet? Right? Have they begun to move on? A lot of times when I go, that's what I look for. And a lot of them, they just stuck there. They're stuck, like there's no growth. They're staying there. And as they stay there, they continue pushing out false doctrine, right? It's a terrible thing to get stuck, right? They started good, but then they got stuck in the anger, and now they're just spewing out hate and filthiness and disgusting bile to people, especially to those who of true Israel who is waking up and they're returning, realizing that we are the people of the Most High, and they're putting away some of the false doctrines, well, a lot of the false doctrines of the church, and they're coming out of that and begin to worship Yahuah and Yahuah alone. Yahuah alone is our Savior. Yahuah alone is our deliverer. But they're still mixing doctrines, right? They're still mixing doctrines. So I haven't looked at them in a while, because every time I look at them, they don't seem to be growing. They are a mess. They're in IG and yeah, they are. Then they're pushing. Although they come against some of the Jewish people, but they're still pushing a lot of their doctrines and stuff, right? And as we know, I mean, I had to grow step by step, and once I realized, Yahuah said, pay attention to this, Pam. Look, they're doing everything backwards from what I actually said, right? Because they do the new year in September. When Yahuah said, what did I say at the beginning of the year was Passover? In the spring, remember, everything begins to think about it. Yahuah's truth is evident in nature all around us, right? Everything is thrown off, but if we pay attention, and when we begin to keep the feast, not keeping the feast for religious reasons, but simply being obedient, right? There's a blessing in keeping it. Like I said, as I began to keep them, what I began to realize, they also are time markers, will begin to help us see how to adjust to the appropriate time of the year, right? And as I began to keep the feast and began to keep Passover and unleavened bread, and realize, boom, wait a minute, also the Sabbath. Wait a minute, hold on. So if the year rotates on a Gregorian calendar, and our birthdays rotate every year, we have the same day. Like my birthday is March the 30th every year, but my birthday is not on Tuesday of every year. It cycles through the year. And then we look at Christmas, right? Christmas is December 25th. I don't celebrate Christmas anymore, but get what I'm saying. December 25th is Christmas every year, but it's not always on Sunday, or it's not always on Friday. It rotates. Everything that has a date, it rotates throughout the week. I'm like, okay, so then we look at the Sabbath. They say this is Friday sundown or Saturday sundown, or some just say Saturday, right? So why is if everything else is rotating, why is the Sabbath also not rotating, right? That's what began to catch my attention. You would just show me little step by step. Pay attention.
Mom,
yes, baby girl.
let's go Halloween.
No, we don't do Halloween anymore either, Pootie. So everything, I began to look at everything, had to step back, write stuff down, and pay attention. Wait a minute. And once I realized, wait a minute, well, if everything else is rotating throughout the week, should not the Sabbath also rotate throughout the week? Which caused me to get more into the book of Enoch and go through. I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, I'm like, Father, wait a minute. And then when I realized, as we're moving throughout the feast days, by keeping the feast, you're doing it out of obedience. And for the first couple of years, if you're not studying, you're just keeping out of obedience, that's okay. But those who study more, it begins to click. Wait a minute, this is a time marker. It teaches you, keeping the feast teaches you how to tell time, and it places you, yes, baby girl. They're placed throughout the year in certain seasons and certain times, whereby you can know by nature. If you read through the book of Enoch and how it goes through different things, it'll help you to align. This is what will happen here. This is what will happen here. The perfect year is always 364 days. They've added a year 365. Now you got a leap year. You got the Pope removing days from the year. They didn't remove 14 days. All these things, right? And so as a faithful witness, Yahuah has given us the sun and the moon and the stars. They can try and cover them up with chemtrails, or whatever they want to do, fake clouds, all this stuff, but they cannot control the sun and the moon. They can only try and cover it up, but they are our faithful witnesses from the day that they were created, right? And all of these things. Yes, baby girl.
It's what? It's her birthday.
My birthday was the other day, 2 days ago. So, but once we began to do that, and we began to observe, that's why we observe the new moon coming in every month, because it would keep us on track with the true year of Yahuah, and it sets us back on the right time and on the right path. And then as you do that, another level of truth is being revealed to you, you know. So you got to do steps. Like some people think, okay, I'm the people, I'm the true Hebrew, whatever, but more truth is revealed to those that line themselves up and keep Yahuah's commands, right? When you keep Yahuah's commands, he keeps you. And if you go as far as keeping his commands and you're faithful in it, and you truly want to know his ways and do what's right and not just be super religious, he begins to reveal different levels of truth to you.
That's like an owl.
It does look like an owl. He begins to reveal more levels of truth to you, and you just keep growing, right? And so the alphabet group, Sakari and them, you're not talking bad about them or whatever. Some of them got good hearts, but some people under their care are actually leaving because you get to a certain point, like, okay, what else is it? Like, do we stop growing here? What's next, right? Because this can't be it, right? And so they come out of that once that they're stuck, and they got all this drama going on, all this filthiness stuff that it's like they waking people up just to put them back to sleep and take them into another whole level of sin and doing stuff, keeping things that King David and Solomon did. Oh, we can multiply women to ourselves, but we clearly know that Yahuah said don't do that, right? Everybody got a regular Bible. You ain't got to have the extra stuff about King Solomon where he tells you to stay away from these things. All the things he did, he said, don't do it. Don't do it. We see his cry and his lamentation in the book of Ecclesiastes. It is better for man to eat, drink, and be happy. And keep Yahuah's commands, right? Keep his commands. Kings shall not multiply women or horses, money unto themselves. Why? Because you get the big head. You got all this booty, all these different women setting you up. Now you're crushing a locust between your hand and bowing to Molech, right? Before you know it. And it's like you're bereft of all your wisdom, right? But I know there was a lot. But if you've been here for a while, y'all know what the locust being crushed between the hands of me. That's what King Solomon did the first time. He took the advice of one of his women, one of his many concubines or wives. And she said, all you got to do is just crush the locust between your hand. And, oh, yeah, do it in the name of Molech, too. Oh, that's all I got to do? Just to get the booty? Crush the locust and say, Molech, in your name. Thank you for this booty. And it said immediately when he did that, he was bereft of all the wisdom that Yahuah had given him. And what happened to King Solomon? That part they don't canonize and add in there. For all of our men who are waking up with kings, yes, I'm going to get this wife, I'm going to be in here study all day. You go out here, you do this, you take care of the kids. Why I got to be in here teaching the word, doing YouTube videos all day, cussing at them, all talking to the women, talking to the daughters of Zion like they hoes in the street, right? I'm like, this is disgusting. I'm like, people sitting under this listening to this? People really listening to this? They're falling for this? Why? Because those who canonized the Bible, they picked and chose what they wanted to combine to create this narrative that they would begin pushing through the word. Matter of fact, the whole portion that they condensed and added and flipped around and they call now the New Testament. Matter of fact, you can find documents where they didn't really think that particular portion was going to go on as long as it did. But it's become a whole doctrine that people live by. And like they are completely baffled that it has taken on a life of its own, right? It's crazy. People don't believe it. But you start pulling up some of these ancient scrolls and documents and what Yahuah said. And Yahuah talks about. He talks about that in one of the scrolls, right? He said there will be a man who comes and declares himself to be God, right? Born of a virgin. It's in one of the scrolls.
Mom,
it's in one of the scrolls.
Mommy, I find her.
But they don't put that in there. They don't make that public knowledge. They put it away. They throw scary names on it. They put it over here. This is occult information. You know, put it in Apocrypha. Nope, we don't need this. No, this is of the devil. And keep the people who actually need the information away from it, right? And keep you ignorant. And you're doing stuff you ain't supposed to be doing. And what you find yourself doing and not even realizing, you're breaking the first command. Thou shalt have no other gods before my face. Now you're worshiping a man who has come. And Yahuah, as a matter of fact, even if you read it, he said, you worship God, right? No, we want to worship you, man. We want to worship you. And they worshiping the man, and you're breaking the first command. Yahuah said, have no other gods before my face. There was nobody here with me in the beginning. There was me and me alone. He said, there is not another Savior. If there is, I know not one. And I'll post all them scriptures in here in the comment section for y'all again today, along with some of the other stuff I said I was going to share, just in case you looked over, you missed them scriptures where he said this umpteen times, trying to remind you and keep you focused on him and not the parlor tricks of these other people who understand nature and know how to twist around the elements and even take Yahuah's name and cause things to happen whereby it looks like it's the power of God, right? It's the power of vagabond improperly using Yahuah's name. his real name. They called it the Ineffable name. But it wasn't the Ineffable name for us. Matter of fact, he gave us his name to use, right? And it's that name whereby the real people of Yahuah are saved. I did a video about Passover on it. And that's a tool for the children of the Most High. But those who hate him and hate his people have taken the name, hidden it, said, don't speak it. Matter of fact, do you know by not speaking his name, that is also breaking the third command? By not, what it says, you shall not take Yahuwah's name in vain. But do you also know that taking his name in vain is causing his name not to be spoken, bringing his name to ruin by causing people to forget his name? That's breaking the command, because his people should know his name. His people should be able to call on his name at any given time and be saved. We read multiple things where people got in trouble, literally life or death, and they call out the true name of Yahuah, and boom, immediately something happens supernaturally and they are saved, right? My people shall call upon my name and they shall be saved, right? All right, y'all get it. I ain't gonna be the dead horse. But anyway, let's go ahead and get out of here. You're welcome. Bella is a trip. Look at us. She got chips, sour cream. She dipping it in. Okay. My sister texted me and said, get Bella. I know we about to. All right, y'all. I'm going to go back and watch this. I'm sitting here talking to y'all. I don't know what she did. She probably licking her tongue out some everything. Stop. Okay, y'all. We out of here. I see y'all back here in the morning, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Y'all willing, we'll be right here. All right. Yes. Y'all is going to purge out the rebels among us, right? All right, y'all. Love y'all. Peace.